Yeah, yeah. Kevin, where are you coming from?
Houston.
Houston.
I'm in Houston now, but I was in the DFW area.
Oh, okay, okay.
Born and raised in DFW, but moved here about a little over a year ago.
Okay, okay.
So it's fun.
Nice, nice.
I actually didn't think I would like it here, but I've actually enjoyed it.
Yeah. All right, I think we're going to start. What do you think, Beth? All right, well, let me see if I can. So we're starting. Welcome everyone to Moving Products this time of crisis. We have a webinar that's going to last somewhere around 20 or 45 minutes. I'll just give you an idea of our agenda. We're going to have a couple of introductions to start off, and some panelist presentations. We're going to go into a period of moderated questions and answers, and then we're going to be opening it up to the attendees, the audience, to ask questions of our panelists, and then close the webinar. The webinar is being put on by the Richardson Chamber of Commerce, and specifically the International Concierge Group. And we're very happy to have Seville as our webinar sponsor. So starting off, my name is Lawrence Howarth. I'm with the Mayor's Office of International Business, and also the VP of International Business for the Richardson Chamber. And Beth, why don't you say hello to the folks?
Sure, good morning, and thank you for joining us. I am the Director of Economic Development, and as part of that, I work with some of the international business development, and so Lawrence and I are colleagues in that space. I wear a number of other different hats, but today's hat is the Chamber of Commerce and our international work.
Fantastic, thank you, Beth. So let's go on to our panelists. We're extremely excited to have two very knowledgeable people in the logistics and freight forwarding business. One is from far, far away. Estephania is currently in Buenos Aires. Estephania, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? I have your bio up on the screen, but tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll have you share a little bit about your company. Go ahead.
Perfect, yes, sure. Hello everyone, it's a pleasure for me to be part of this webinar. Thanks for inviting us. So as Lawrence said, I was born in Buenos Aires, and I left my country when I was 18 years old. I moved to Switzerland, where I did most of my professional career. I started my career at MSC's headquarters, where I was working for a bit more than 7 years. And my experience in MSC was really great, because I was part of a department that would see everything that could happen in the logistics world, specialized on the American continent. So it was a great base. And then I changed to another position in Cargill, in the trading hub they have in Geneva, where I started in the oil and gas sector, and then I moved to the sugar sector, the business unit, where I was, among other things, in the beginning doing some trade execution, and then I moved to trading assistant and the trader, container freight trader. So I was the person negotiating the freight rate for the 45,000 plus TEU Cargill sugar moves per year worldwide, together with the local teams in Thailand, Brazil, Latin America, India, Europe. So that gave me a broad views, not only on the carrier side, but also on the customer side. And 2 years ago, I decided to move back to Buenos Aires. And there I joined the Fracht group as an oil and gas manager for Argentina and the US, mainly on the trading of frac sand. And a year ago, I was promoted to the Fracht USA team as route development manager for Latin America and global procurement. So I have two roles. On one side, I'm traveling all across Latin America, developing relationships and business for our company. And on the other side, together with our team, I'm negotiating rates for big contracts.
Fantastic! What a background. We're extremely happy to have you here, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen and have you go ahead to your. Let me see if I can do it here. Over to yours. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about Fracht.
Perfect.
Very good. We get you.
Great. So Fracht is a family-owned company. It's owned by Mr. Breisdorf. It was created about 65 years ago, and our headquarters is in Switzerland, in Basel. Our mission is basically to deliver solutions in every direction. To give you a bit of numbers about us, our global numbers, we have our own offices in more than 117 worldwide locations, and we are over 1,200 employees across the globe. Globally, we move more than 300,000 TEUs per year. That's based on the 2019 numbers, and 9 million kilos air shipments. Our total revenue globally is about $1.3 billion. And we have presence almost everywhere in the world. In the US, we opened our first office around 45 years ago. We have offices in 9 locations, and currently we are more than 200 employees. We are moving around 75,000 TEUs per year, and we do about 450 heavy lifts. Our revenue, it's about $200 million. And something special about us is that we have 35 project experts in our team in the US, and we own 9 rail cars for heavy lifts. So this map will show you a bit our presence and the experience we have. On the dark blue countries, we have our own offices. So you can see we are almost everywhere. And on the other location, we work closely with reliable partners. This will show you a detail on the offices we have across the globe. I will not go through all of them, but this will show you the huge presence and the strength we have worldwide. So this is a bit what we do. We do many things. On the general cargo side, we do air freight, ocean freight, truck freight, warehouse distribution, and custom brokerage. And then we have, as mentioned before, a very, very deep knowledge in project services. We are moving our project cargo with ocean freight, bargings. We do heavy lift and rigging, overland and modular transport. We have a team for transport engineering and heavy duty rail solutions. The industries where we are focused the most right now are the oil and gas, consumer goods and retail, chemical, automotive, renewable energy, industrial plants, power distribution, power generation, and medical and pharmaceuticals, which are the big players today. Also, the last few months, we've opened different divisions in our company. One of them is Fracht Worldwide Trade, of which the one I'm part of together with Jerry Campanucci. We on the trade, what we do is basically we try to bring solutions to our client, offering a one-stop shop delivery. So we provide with the goods that our client needs, we do the logistics, and we sell it at destination. Then we have our division of Solaris Global, which is mainly in charge of all our solar cargo, and the FTS division, that is our tracking division. With all this scheme, we try to be global, we try to be innovative, and we try to bring added value to our customers in every way we can. And to finish, this is a quick overview of some of our main clients in the US and globally. As you can see, these are very big accounts. We have everything. We have very big accounts, and we also have mid and small size companies. We try to focus on delivering services, on delivering solutions, and on being a very reliable partner, which I think today it's the most important quality a logistic company can have. So thank you very much.
Very, very good.
I will now stop sharing my screen.
All right.
Hold on.
There we go. All right. Well, thank you very much, Estephania. There's tremendous experience both in the company as well as Estephania personally. I'm not sure she mentioned, but she's fluent in 5 languages. So that in itself makes her, freight forwarder extraordinaire, I guess. So on to our next panelist. And let me just make sure I can get over here. There we go. Kevin Renteria. Known Kevin for a while, and Kevin is with Air Sea Forwarders based in Houston. Kevin, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll have you talk about your company.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I am Kevin. Been in the industry, like I says, for 24 years. Actually started at the bottom and have worked my way up to where I am today. Have done everything from starting in the warehouse to moving into air exports in-house at a multinational company, shipping things all over the world. Moved in from there to imports and then to ocean imports. So I've spent about 11 years of my time on the operational side of forwarding. From that, moved into warehouse management, managed the Motorola account for us, picking and packing for them. And from that, moved into the inside sales role, to which today I am now, outside sales, regional sales manager for Air Sea Forwarders. Have spent, like I said, about the last 12 years, I guess, in the sales side of things. Seen a lot of crazy things in this industry, that's for sure. Especially with what's going on right now. It is definitely a fun time, to say the least, to be in this industry. So have worked for larger companies, smaller companies, and just enjoy the industry as a whole. So really look forward to seeing what we do after where we're at right now today.
All right. Very good, Kevin. I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to have you pull up your presentation and tell us a little bit about Air Sea Forwarders.
Okay, thank you. Well, what's going on here? There we go. Like I said, I'm with Air Sea Forwarders. We are headquartered out of California, out of Los Angeles, California. They've been in business since 1948, was founded in 1948. We have 8 offices in the U.S., all the major ports on the East and West Coast, and here in Texas and in Chicago. We specialize in just about anything that has to do with transport management. We've won the California Mayor's Award several years back for international transportation. We utilize every form of transportation that we can get our hands on, basically air, ocean, trucking, rail, customs brokerage. We like to do it all. So we have no international offices with the Air Sea Freight name, but we have a network in 80 countries worldwide with our agents, long-term relationships, some of them spanning 40, 50 years in some points, in some areas. So we look very forward to dealing with our agents. We trust them very much. We're very happy with all of them that we do business with. We just go through my slides. We just give a little bit about the services that we have, our air services. We do imports, exports, like it says. We do consolidated services, hand carries, charter freight, anything we want, anything that the customer needs. We try to specialize in that and do anything and everything we can to keep our customers' freight moving on a timely manner with the air expedited services. Oops, wrong way. Sorry about that. Ocean services, just about the same. We do the FCL, the LCL. We do project freights. We do oversized racks, anything and everything that we can do. We try to do. Domestic services, we don't have any of our own trucks. We utilize different platforms to move the freight. My area is Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, New Mexico, and Arkansas. And from what I'm seeing right now, we're having very little trouble finding trucks. They're out there. We just utilize anything and every mode of transportation we can on the domestic side. So we look forward to doing this. And I forgot to mention earlier, I am new with the company and still learning. Unfortunately, I started about 2 weeks before the lockdown happened. So I am still in training and learning mode on the company. It's really a great company. We are a employee-owned business, so it motivates us to really take care of our customers and make sure that they're happy with our services. I apologize for not stating that earlier. It just came to me during that. But that's really all I wanted to say. Really quick, like I said, Lawrence, I talk too much, so I'm trying to keep it down to a minimum so we can get to our panelists or our guests and answer any and all questions that they have. So
Fantastic.
There you go, sir.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's go ahead here. You know, as you know, the supply chain and specifically the logistics and shipping and freight side of it has come into the forefront now, especially with moving some of the critical supplies during COVID-19. We're moving supplies, protective equipment, ventilators, these things all over the world. And so I don't think there's ever been a time when freight forwarding and logistics and moving products has ever been so important. So, but what we've done is we've put together some questions for the for our panelists, and Beth and I are going to be alternating here. Beth, why don't you start off with the first one?
Sure, and in my opinion, this is kind of the guts of this program and the reason you guys are joining us. We're lucky to have two experts on the subject who can help us answer these questions as we do move forward in these unprecedented times. So we're asking both the panelists this question, so they'll each give their their perspective answer. So what are the biggest changes you've seen since the start of the COVID-19 crisis in terms of volume of freight, locations, modes of freight? If each of you will take a stab at an answer. Ladies first.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so basically the way people do business in general, everything has changed. All the rules have changed. Not only on a professional side, on the logistics side, but in our everyday life, right? What we have seen is that mainly every industry has taken its time to get used to this new way of having people working remotely. Of course, that has generated delays getting people set up for that, because not every company was ready to have 100% of their employees working from home. Making this a big ball of snow and generating delays in every way and in every industry. In what it relates to the logistics, we've seen a change in the flows with the country's shutdown and lockdown. You had some exporters that couldn't export anymore, such as was the case of China a few weeks back. Then they reopened, but the world had to quickly adjust to these changes, finding new providers, new solutions. For example, right now, I was talking this morning with one of my ex-colleagues. Brazil is hugely exporting sugar, rice, coffee, because you have India that is not able to export right now, Vietnam that is not able to export, and these are really big, used to be big exporters. And suddenly you have a new player. Brazil is not a new player, but it's the only one right now working almost as normal. So it's taking the big bunch of requests.
Very good.
On the other side, you have a huge problem on equipment supply, because everything is delayed because of employees being getting infected or being protected. So teams are working with half team, and that's creating delays, which impacts automatically in the equipment supply, especially on the special equipment such as reefers and ISO tanks, which are not as numerous as other equipment.
Okay,
Kevin,
very
do
good.
you have, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Kevin, do you have any additional comments?
Well, yeah, I mean, just some of the changes that we've seen, Estephania absolutely hit on a lot of them. I mean, and now you're seeing people coming up with new ideas, and it might touch in some of the other questions that have come across, but we've seen, like out of China, we've seen a lot of people utilizing a new transit route that they're doing for LCL shipments. There's a new service out there by Matson, I believe is what it is, that is a 10-day transit from China to LA. So it's a lot faster LCL service that is being offered, of course, at a premium, but it's things like that I have seen that are, it's companies that are realizing the panic that people are in, that are trying to come up with new modes of transportation and different ideas on how to move things. So that, that's really good to see that they're coming up with some new ideas on how to move things. And hopefully that's going to be something that they utilize even after this crisis that we have going on, because I think that is a very good service to offer that's in between your standard ocean freight and your standard air freight. If the pricing is in the middle of those two, that's going to be a good service that a lot of people can utilize.
Great. And, carrying on from our next question, actually dovetails into that. And we'll start with you, Kevin, on this one, is how has the pricing for shipping and freight services been affected by this crisis?
Yeah, it's definitely a supply and demand thing, I guess is the only way to really put that. Like I said, I am new with the company that I'm with, and started seeing some changes right away excuse me. For example, a customer that I'm actually quoting on right now, I know 2 years ago when I was quoting for this customer, rates were, let's say, I think they were in the $1.95 to $2 range coming out of their shipping location. And today, the quote I'm working on is $6.15 a kilo for air freight.
Wow.
So quite an enormous jump, and we've seen that in several other things that we have seen. That talking to our operations people, they were telling me things, and you know, it's just surprising from somebody who came from the operational side to see these type of increases. It kind of takes me back, unfortunately, to think about the 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
When 9/11 happened and everything got shut down so quick, so hard, moving the freight was who wants to pay the expedited rate to get their freight on aircraft when they were moving, and it's a little crazy
Yeah.
to see.
If
Yes.
I may add
Yeah.
something on there, I think we moved from a market that was focused on price to a market that is focused on availability. Now it's
Absolutely.
all about moving the stuff and not anymore about the price they pay for that. So
Interesting.
it's a big challenge to move things, and people have no other option than to accept the important increases, especially in air freight, which, for example, you can take China as an example, where the cost per kilo was about $4, and we are now at $23 per kilo. And still there is really a big fight to get space on those
Absolutely.
aircrafts or
Very
having an
interesting.
aircraft.
Very interesting. Beth, go ahead for number 3.
Sure. How do freight forwarding and logistics companies such as yours fit into the crisis management and sourcing plans for companies? And Estephania, I'll start with you.
Okay, so I really think that right now freight forwarders are a big plus for everyone in need of moving cargo. As we are using all the kind of transportations, we really have the global picture of what's going on in the market, and we can see and we can foresee what's going to happen. So that's the key. We are working really hard in partnership with our clients, our service providers, to mitigate risk and to foresee what will happen, not in 1 month, but next week. So I think that today freight forwarders became a really big player for everyone moving their cargo, because they need options. And whoever was only shipping with containers now needs to be ready to use other options and combine things, and maybe use different ports and then tracking, and then the freight forwarder is your best friend in these kind of situations.
Sure.
And to add on that, I mean, it's using the freight forwarder, talking with your freight forwarder. You have to prioritize what shipments are your most important shipment, and have that forwarder go to the airline, steamship line, and book freight in advance, and try to reserve that space, plan that space, and consolidate with not only one individual shipper, but multiple shippers, to try to get that space wherever they can get it, whether it's ocean or air.
Yeah, I think that today everyone in the logistic world know and agrees that we are living a bit of a nightmare on their outside, and having someone like us solving all your issues and trying to find solutions for you, it's a big plus.
Very good. Very good. Well, you know, the freight has to move. I think that's one thing that we're seeing, is that, you know, the world hasn't stopped. We're still moving product back and forth.
Of
And
course.
certainly for some of the materials related to the crisis, that's a big thing. So next question here, and we'll start with you, Kevin, is what changes have you seen with respect to customs clearing for international shipments?
Really, I talked to our people today, this morning, just going over this, and we're really not seeing a lot of changes on the customs clearance side, at least from our company. I mean, things seem to be moving very smooth through customs without any huge, clearance changes. There has been some more inspections, some fumigations, stuff like that, but nothing out of the ordinary, nothing crazy on our side of things. I don't know if it's different for Estephania or not.
No, I fully agree with you, because the fact that customs has transitioned to a paperless environment a few years ago has really helped to this situation. Clearance processes are running smooth, with maybe some delays on the movement of goods, but not really on the custom clearance part. I think that all agencies are making really good efforts to support the flow of goods and do not block anything. So I think this side of the business was not really affected.
Good. Okay, Beth. Oh.
Yeah, so you've touched on this a little bit, but let me more specifically ask this question. What can you tell us with regard to the border closings, traffic bans, and the effect on the supply chain? And I'm going to switch things up and start with you, Kevin.
Oh, with me?
Yeah.
Okay. Really, once again, talking to the people that handle these movements, there really hasn't been, there was the closing in the Canada side for non-essential traffic, but it slowed things down a little bit. But other than that, the shipments that we are handling, both north and south, seem to be moving pretty effortlessly, just because everything is done paperless. I mean, besides the guy in the truck driving across, there's really hadn't been a huge change, just minor delays.
Good point.
Well, on our side, we have a bit of a different view, because all this situation has generated a big pressure in the market, and having countries locked down, and especially factories locking down, has resulted in purchase orders to be canceled, and this has led into shipments being canceled. So we have seen a direct impact in our bottom line for sure. Again, many big companies, many big clients, and big, medium, and small clients had to close the door for a while, and some still are closed. And of course, everything they used to move, it's not moving anymore. So, but on the other side, you do see, like Lawrence was saying, for example, everybody in the medical insumes PPE are moving like crazy. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then, for example, just to name an example that my colleagues in Texas were telling me, carriers were not accepting cargo from some states, such as Los Angeles, for fear that their drivers would not be allowed to be back to Texas without having the 14 days quarantine. So that has created an impact in our business.
Wow. Great. Okay. So the next question we have is, and I think both of you kind of alluded to this earlier, and that's the consolidated cargo, smaller shipments, when companies are maybe reducing the sizes of product because their demand is less. Estephania, what have you seen in the changes in consolidated cargo due to that kind of change?
Well, we've seen a spike in consolidated air freight for sure. In terms of LCL shipments, we haven't seen much impact. Mm-hmm. However, we are not a huge LCL player in the market. So maybe Kevin will be able to give a better sense of this.
Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, it's like we talked about earlier. We are seeing the even on the consolidated air cargo, the rates are so high. Customers are prioritizing what they need shipped versus what they have ready to ship. So you've seen a lot of that. You've seen, another customer that I'm quoting on. I've quoted the same shipment 3 different times because it started out at one size, then it got a lot larger. Once they saw that rate, then they cut it back again and said, what about this? I think we can get by with only this many. So it's the customers that are really having to prioritize what they need and when they need it. So it's changing everything. And that, like I said, that goes anything from air to the LCL shipments. We're seeing that. So you're seeing not a backlog. I don't want to say a backlog, but you're seeing a rush to people moving smaller shipments, LCL versus full container load. So you're not seeing delays as much, but it just the available space that's out there.
Great. Beth.
Yeah, so I'm particularly interested in hearing your answer to this because I think we've all heard these, I don't know if they're rumors, but stories that the airlines have repurposed some of their passenger assets to carry more freight. So first of all, is this true? Have you all heard that? And if so, what effect has that had on shippers? So Kevin, I'll start with you.
We have not heard. I even have a buddy of mine that works for American, and I even asked him. We have not heard of airlines or aircraft being repurposed. I mean, and then you got to think about there has been such a decrease in the amount of routes and the amount of flights that are moving. That's one of the things that we have to deal with as forwarders is you don't have the same number of flights that are in the air now.
Sure.
So, and that's a direct correlation to passenger crafts being grounded. There's, where one lane might have had 10 flights a week, it might only have 5 flights a week now, and I'm just using general numbers. I'm not using exact numbers there, but you've seen the passenger crafts, the amount of passenger crafts go down. I have not, and maybe Estephania doing different routes has heard otherwise, but I haven't heard any of them being repurposed for cargo craft. So.
Okay, interesting.
Okay, on our side, I can confirm this is true.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Most airlines are currently losing lots of money. They have their aircraft stopped at many airports. I don't know if you had the chance to see those pictures, sad pictures of airports full of aircrafts there stopped. So they decided to put at disposal of the cargo part of their fleet. So today you have passengers aircraft flying empty upstairs but with their belly full. And most of the carriers are offering this right now. And this is a good thing because it's giving a bit of breath in the areas where aircrafts are full weeks in advance, like it's today the case of China, which is a huge exporter right now. It is very difficult right now to find space on an aircraft from China, and thanks God, there are some airlines that are bringing their aircrafts there and putting it at the disposition of the cargo shipment so we can have options. This is helping also on the rate side because even though it's not preventing the rates to be high, but it's still limiting the rates. However, these kind of aircrafts have a limitation because they cannot carry everything. So there are size and weight limitations.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. All right. So going on to the next question. You guys are key to moving product around the world. What are the questions that you're receiving from customers most, or from shippers most often? And Kevin, we'll start with you.
The availability is the biggest thing. That's what we're receiving. Anytime I'm talking to anybody, it's, how can you get my freight on a plane where somebody else can't? Which you can't tell them that. You pay the price, and unfortunately, like I said, in other times throughout in the past, that's the same question that people were asking me. There's also well, what do I have to do differently to make my freight safe? To not get it held up in customs with different exams and stuff like that. And really that's really all I'm getting right now.
Okay, Estephania.
Yeah, on our side, we have a lot of questions as well regarding policies and regulation changes, because there were lots of changes in many countries in the world with bans of export, import, etc. So they really lean on us for this accurate information, and we try to update our customers very proactively and timely, so they are ready for the changes. And these changes are happening almost every day. So every day the situation is changing in a different part of the world. As well, they are worried about the impact on rates, what will happen with the rates they had, and how we see the rates will evolve in the next few weeks. And they are also very worried, of course, if their cargo will be rolled. They're asking us for options for their shipments. I think there was a bit of panic, so they lean on us for giving good information and letting them know that things will keep on moving, and that their business will not be killed in the middle.
Okay, Beth.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I think we still have quite a bit longer that we're going to be dealing with the lockdowns and sheltering in place, and this new reality that we're all living with right now. So with that in mind, what would you say the 3 or 4 key things that companies should be focused on as they're navigating through this period in relationship to the movement of freight? Estephania, do you want to start?
Yeah, the first thing I would say is flexibility. Things are changing daily, as we said, so expect change, and being able to navigate that change is vital today. I think that they need to be able to change plans quickly, and to be part of that change, right? Second thing, it's planning, and I think it's important they have a plan, and they have a plan that considers mitigating risk right now, because of course there is a huge economical impact worldwide. We don't know for how long this will stay, and for companies that are not hugely solid economically, this will have a big impact, right? So yes, they need to plan well ahead and to consider a good risk management. On the third place, I would say communication. Clear, decisive, and timely communication today is key. And last but not least, I would say partnership. Today, having a partner, a very reliable partner with whom they can trust and that they can rely on, it's key, and will be key on the future relationship once this is over.
Excellent. Kevin, anything
There's
to
not
add?
much more. There's not much more I can expound on that. She hit everything that I would have said. Absolutely. Communication, planning, partnership, that is going to play such a huge role moving forward in the way that companies come out of this. So excellent job. I couldn't have done it any better.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, and we're wrapping up here. We're getting to our last question. Some of this we've talked about, but what do you see changing in the future with respect to supply chains after after this COVID-19? What's going to fundamentally change in your businesses and in the business of moving freight?
Wow. I even tried to talk about this with my boss today, and looking forward is going to be the hardest thing. And really, what we just touched on in the last question is going to be a key to moving forward. If you don't have that right partner, if you don't have somebody that you can communicate with and really plan the way that you see things moving, it's going to be hard. And the changes that we're going to see, it's all up to the government, really. And you don't want to get me started on that. So it's really crazy, because this is not something I ever would have seen happening ever. To be shut down like this over a virus is really crazy to me, and to see that what it has done to our communities and economy, it's really scary. And to know that it could happen again, because this virus was man-made, basically, and it's scary to think that it could do what it did. And just, I don't even want to guess what we could do in the future or what this is going to do to the future, because it's unforeseeable, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's basically the same thing that happened in 9/11. Nobody would have thought that rates and surcharges would have gone up like they did after 9/11.
Yeah.
But they did. I mean, I dealt with some very big customers back then, and we started seeing all the different surcharges come through, and they didn't want any of it. They would leave us to go to another forwarder eventually to come back, because all the rates were happening across the board. And you might see some of that still happening, and I'm hoping that the rates stabilize, because I sure don't want to see these type of rates in the future. That's for sure.
Estephania.
Well, one thing is certain, is that the world will never be the same again after this, in my opinion. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I believe there will be a before and an after the COVID-19. In our sector, I think, in our sector and in every sector, I think that everybody will move to a much more automated and digital model.
Mm-hmm.
They will need to be ready to work remotely from one day to the other, because now we know it can happen. Now we know that the whole world can be forced to stay home and to close the business, and we need to find solutions out of the box, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that companies will have to focus a lot on the risk control and mitigation. As mentioned before, that will be key for the survival of those that are not as solid as they should to navigate this kind of storm. And I believe that this will create, as Kevin said, better and stronger partnerships for sure. Because whoever has today a good partner, a reliable partner, and someone that helps you navigate this situation in the best way possible, will become your ally in the future.
Good.
That's my opinion.
Oh, very good. I think we've come to the end of our pre-scripted questions. Thank you very, very much. You know, the supply chain, the focus on the supply chain and the movement of goods and goods around the world is going to be a key focus for companies. The supply chain and the movement of goods can make or break companies, as you well know. One of the questions that we have from one of the attendees is, what kind of data would you look to that would actually give us an idea or give us a picture that there's recovery? What's that would give us signs of a recovery moving forward? What kinds of things would you say we should look for? Estephania.
I would say I would really pay attention first of all to the volumes, how they are moving, it comes to us a stable mode, not having crazy rates, lack of equipment, huge lack of equipment, and I think that once the market is less stressed, as we say in trading, then that would be a sign that things start slowly to be back to normal. However, I really think it will take time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the world itself will go through such a stress that it will take time for all of us to be back to a normal situation.
Great.
So we
Kevin.
need to be ready to navigate this storm.
Yeah, Kevin, what are your thoughts?
Absolutely. I mean, she hit the nail on the head once again. I mean, the first thing that's gonna happen is the availability to book freight, to get freight on moving aircraft a little bit easier, a little bit better. You know, the thing that is going to be scary is once they do open everything back up is just like I saw a news report the other day, you know, the barbers and the hair salons are going to be crazy to get into because of the mad rush of everybody going at one time. Well, once everything goes up, if companies are still producing and not moving the amount of freight that they would want to, once that happens and it overwhelms our systems, it's going to be tough. But I think just getting through that, and once you see that happening, and once the airlines are able to take the capacity that we were once at, I think it's going to be a very good sign once that happens, like she said.
Okay. And we have another question. The question is, what's been the impact since the start of the COVID-19 in lead times into the U.S., especially from China, in the China-U.S. trade lanes? Estephania, you got some visibility on that?
Yeah, there is in the beginning there was this shutdown, so there was nothing moving out of China, and suddenly the whole world locked down and China opened, so they are the only ones moving. So we do see an increase in the volume and delays and lots of problems generated because China right now is the big player in the world.
Okay, Kevin?
Absolutely. I mean, you can't, you know, that's the thing. It just, once it closed down and slowed everything up, yes, the lead times were just growing, and that's where we are now. They are moving, but at the beginning, yes, the lead times were definitely getting out there.
Good. Well, we've pretty much come to the end of our time on the webinar. You guys have been great. I think I'm a great believer in watching the supply chain, and you folks are right in the middle of it. Supply chains, as I said, can make or break companies, and moving those products, very important for large companies and small companies. Thank you very much for your participation. Really appreciate having someone with knowledge as you have. Beth, do you have any final comments?
No, I would echo your thanks. You guys are definitely experts, and you're on the front lines, and shared just a wealth of information with our participants. So thanks again very much for sharing your expertise. We appreciate it.
Very good.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us. It's been a pleasure.